The Instagram post that ruined my marriage had exactly 43 likes and a caption that read, "Another amazing night with my gorgeous hubby. Blessed couple goals, living my best life." What it didn't show was Alicia stumbling through our apartment door at 3 in the morning, reeking of cologne that wasn't mine, with her lipstick smeared, and her story changing every time I asked where she'd been. My name is Greg Landon, and I used to believe in happy endings. I'm 35, manage 3 restaurants in downtown Portland, and until 6 months ago, I thought I was living the American dream. Beautiful wife, nice apartment, decent paycheck. The kind of life that looks perfect from the outside, which is exactly how Alicia liked it. "Greg, you're being paranoid again," she said that morning, not even looking up from her phone as she scrolled through her fitness influencer feed. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled despite her late night, and she wore that practiced smile she'd perfected for her 10,000 Instagram followers. "I'm not being paranoid. I'm being observant. There's a difference." She finally looked at me, those blue eyes that had once made my heart skip, now cold as winter rain. "You know what your problem is? You don't trust me, and that's not attractive, Greg. My followers are always commenting on how lucky I am to have such a supportive husband. Maybe you should try being that guy." I wanted to laugh. Supportive? I'd been supporting her influencer dreams for 2 years, paying the bills while she built her brand, selling workout plans and protein smoothie recipes to suburban moms. I'd been the one holding the camera for her gym selfies, the one pretending to enjoy her quinoa salads, the one smiling for her stories while she complained about my friends being low energy and my job being so ordinary. "Your birthday's coming up," she said, applying lip gloss without looking at me. "Don't expect me to do anything big. I'm launching my new program that week, and Susie and I have that collaboration with the athleisure brand." Susie Rivas was Alicia's best friend and business partner, a sharp-tongued brunette who treated me like furniture. Her husband Dom worked at the steel factory outside town, and somehow the 4 of us had become this tight social circle that felt more like a prison sentence every day. "No problem," I said. "I'll figure something out." What I figured out was that my wife was cheating on me with her best friend's husband, and they all thought I was too stupid to notice. The first real clue came 3 days later. I was grabbing Alicia's phone to show her a funny meme when a text popped up from Dom. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you in that red dress. When can we do it again?" My hands went numb. I stared at the screen until it went black, then set the phone down like it might explode. Alicia was in the shower, singing some pop song off-key, completely oblivious to the fact that her perfect little world was about to implode. I didn't confront her immediately. That would have been the old Greg, the trusting Greg, the Greg who believed his wife when she said she was working late or having girls' nights or attending networking events that somehow never resulted in any actual business growth. Instead, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. The gym sessions that ran 3 hours long, the new lingerie that never made an appearance in our bedroom, the way she and Dom looked at each other during our double dates, like they were sharing some private joke, the way Susie watched me during those same dates, her dark eyes calculating, like she was waiting for me to figure it out. My birthday fell on a Saturday. Alicia announced Friday night that she wouldn't be attending my party. "It's just going to be your restaurant friends and that weird boxing crowd," she said, not looking up from her laptop, where she was editing photos of herself in yoga poses. Not really my scene. Besides, I promised Susie I'd help her with content creation tomorrow. Content creation. Right. I grabbed a beer from the fridge. What kind of content are we creating these days? She finally looked at me, and for just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Fear? Just the usual stuff. Workout videos, lifestyle content. Why are you being weird about it? I'm not being weird. I'm just wondering why my wife can't spare a few hours for her husband's birthday party. Don't be dramatic, Greg. You know I support your little gatherings. I just have work to do. Work. Right. The kind of work that involved her best friend's husband and hotel rooms downtown. I threw the party anyway. Invited everyone from the restaurants, some guys from the boxing gym, where I still train twice a week, even called up my old college roommate Jake, who was visiting from Seattle. I rented the rooftop space at our apartment building, got a decent sound system, and made sure to document everything on Instagram. The party was actually fun. Better than fun. It was the first time in months I'd felt like myself. I was laughing with my friends, telling stories, even flirting a little with Sarah, Jake's girlfriend's sister who was visiting from California. Nothing inappropriate. Just the kind of easy conversation I used to have before Alicia convinced me that everyone who wasn't building a brand was wasting their life. I posted a few Instagram stories throughout the night. Group shots, candid moments, one photo of me and Sarah laughing at something Jake had said. She was pretty in an understated way, with brown hair and genuine smile, the kind of woman who didn't need a ring light and 3 filters to look good. The stories got more engagement than any post I'd made in months. Comments from friends, co-workers, even some of Alicia's followers who apparently remembered I existed. It felt good to be seen as something other than a prop in my wife's carefully curated life. Alicia came home at 2 a.m, and she was furious. "What the hell was that?" she hissed, waving her phone in my face. The screen showed my Instagram story, specifically the photo of me and Sarah. That was my birthday party. You know, the one you couldn't be bothered to attend because of your very important content creation. "Who is that girl? Why are you posting pictures with some random woman like you're single?" I almost laughed. "You're seriously going to lecture me about inappropriate behavior? You, Alicia?" Something shifted in her expression. The anger was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Panic, maybe. "I don't know what you're implying, but I don't appreciate your tone." My tone? I stood up from the couch where I'd been scrolling through the birthday messages on my phone. "My tone is the least of your problems right now." What's that supposed to mean? I looked at her for a long moment. Really looked at her. The perfect hair, the perfect makeup even at 2 a.m, the designer workout clothes that probably cost more than most people's rent. When had she become this person? When had we become these people? "It means I'm not as stupid as you think I am." She stared at me, and I could see her calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew, how much I suspected, how much damage control she'd need to do. "You're being paranoid again, Greg. This is exactly why I didn't want to come to your party. You get weird and possessive, and it's not attractive." Possessive? I nodded slowly. Right. Because wanting my wife to show up to my birthday party is possessive. Because noticing that she's never home anymore is possessive. Because asking questions when she comes home at 3 a.m. smelling like another man's cologne is possessive. Her face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't." We stared at each other across our living room, and I realized this was it. This was the moment our marriage officially ended, even if neither of us was ready to say it out loud yet. "I'm going to bed," she said finally. "We'll talk about this when you're being rational." She walked past me toward the bedroom, and I caught that scent again. Expensive cologne, the kind Dom wore when he was trying to impress someone. The kind he'd been wearing more often lately during our group dinners and double dates. I stayed up until sunrise, sitting on our balcony and thinking about the last 2 years of my life. About all the times I'd made excuses for her behavior, all the red flags I'd ignored, all the ways I'd let her convince me that my feelings didn't matter. By the time the sun came up over Portland's skyline, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to be the understanding husband anymore. I wasn't going to be the supportive prop in her Instagram fantasy. I was going to be something much more dangerous. I was going to be the husband who fought back. Monday morning, Alicia was back to her normal routine like nothing had happened. Green smoothie, workout clothes, phone permanently attached to her hand as she responded to comments and DMs from her fitness followers. She'd perfected the art of pretending everything was fine, but I'd lost the ability to play along. "I'm meeting Susie for lunch today," she announced, without looking up from her screen. "We're planning the launch campaign for the new program." "What time?" "Why?" "Just curious about my wife's schedule." Crazy concept, I know. She finally looked at me, and I could see her trying to gauge my mood. "Around noon. We'll probably be at that new place downtown, then maybe do some shopping for props and outfits. Props and outfits for workout videos." "Yes, Greg, for workout videos. This is my job, remember? The job that's actually growing while you're stuck managing the same 3 restaurants." There it was. The casual cruelty that had become her default mode whenever I asked too many questions. The subtle reminder that she considered herself above my ordinary career, even though my ordinary career was paying for her extraordinary lifestyle. "Right. Well, have fun with your props." I left for work before she could respond, but not before I did something I'd never done before. I activated the location sharing on her phone. It took me about 30 seconds of Googling to figure out how to do it, and another 30 seconds to realize I should have done it months ago. If Alicia was really having lunch meetings and shopping trips with Susie, then her phone would show exactly that. If she was doing something else entirely, well, at least I'd finally have proof. The morning crawled by. I tried to focus on inventory reports and staff schedules, but my mind kept wandering to that little dot on my phone screen that represented my wife's location. At 11:30, she was at our apartment. At noon, she was downtown, but not at any restaurant I recognized. At 12:15, the dot stopped moving at the Riverside Hotel. The Riverside Hotel, where Dom had mentioned staying last month when his apartment was being fumigated, where Alicia had definitely never mentioned having any business meetings. I stared at my phone screen for 10 minutes, watching that little dot stay perfectly still. Then I called Richard. Richard Chen was my closest friend, a tech consultant who worked remotely and had way too much time to analyze other people's relationship problems. He also had zero patience for bullshit, which made him the perfect person to talk me down from doing something stupid. "Please tell me you're not about to do something that'll end up on the evening news," he said, instead of hello. "I need an objective opinion." "That's never good." "What's going on?" I told him about the location sharing, about the hotel, about the weeks of suspicious behavior, and the text message I'd seen. Richard listened, without interrupting, which was either a very good sign or a very bad one. "Okay," he said finally. "So, your wife is probably cheating on you with Dom. What are you going to do about it?" "I don't know. Confront her? Confront him? Hire a private investigator? Or you could just leave. Pack your stuff, find a lawyer, start over, clean break, minimal drama." "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Good question. Why couldn't I just walk away?" Pride, maybe. Or the stubborn part of me that refused to let them win. The part that was tired of being treated like an idiot. Because she thinks I'm too stupid to figure it out. They both do. Susie probably knows too, which means all 3 of them have been laughing at me for months. So, this is about revenge. This is about respect. Same thing, usually. Richard was quiet for a moment. Look, if you're determined to blow up your life, at least do it smart. Don't go charging into that hotel like some jealous husband in a bad movie. Gather evidence first, build a case, then decide how you want to handle it. He was right, of course, but sitting in my office watching that dot on my phone screen, the smart approach felt impossible. I wanted to drive downtown, march into that hotel, and catch them in the act. I wanted to see the look on their faces when they realized their little secret was out. Instead, I did something almost as stupid. I drove to the Riverside Hotel and waited in the parking garage. The garage was dimly lit and mostly empty at 1 in the afternoon. I found a spot with a clear view of the elevators and settled in to wait. I felt like a private investigator in a bad TV show, but I couldn't make myself leave. At 2:30, the elevator doors opened and Dom walked out alone. He was wearing his good jeans and a button-down shirt, definitely not his usual factory worker uniform. His hair was still damp, and he had that satisfied expression men get when they think they're getting away with something. He walked right past my car without seeing me, whistling some song under his breath. I watched him get into his black Jeep and drive away, and I realized I was gripping my steering wheel hard enough to leave marks. 15 minutes later, Alicia appeared. She was wearing the red dress from Dom's text message, the one I'd never seen before. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup fresh, and she was checking her phone as she walked toward her car. She looked beautiful. She also looked like a stranger. I sat in that parking garage for another hour trying to process what I'd just confirmed. My wife was cheating on me with her best friend's husband. It wasn't paranoia or insecurity or any of the other things she'd been calling it. It was just the truth, ugly and simple and completely devastating. When I finally drove home, Alicia was already there, changed into yoga pants and a tank top, editing photos on her laptop like she'd spent the afternoon doing exactly what she'd said she was doing. "How was lunch?" I asked. "Good. Productive. We got a lot of planning done for the launch." She didn't look up from her screen. "Susie found this great location for the outdoor workout videos. Very Instagram-worthy." "That's nice. Where did you end up eating?" "That new place I mentioned. You wouldn't like it. Very health-conscious menu." Lie after lie after lie, delivered with the same casual confidence she used in her Instagram videos. I wondered how long she'd been practicing this, how many other afternoons had been spent at the Riverside Hotel while I was working to pay for her lifestyle. "I might be late tomorrow night," I said. "Inventory at the downtown location." "Okay. I'll probably have dinner with Susie anyway. We're really in the zone with this project." More lies. But now I knew exactly what kind of project they were working on, and it had nothing to do with workout videos. That night, I lay awake, listening to Alicia breathe beside me, and I started planning. Not just how to catch them, but how to make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of people they really were. Richard was right about one thing. If I was going to blow up my life, I needed to do it smart. I was going to give them a birthday present they'd never forget. The next morning, I started building my case like Richard had suggested, but not in the way he'd probably intended. Instead of hiring a private investigator or consulting a lawyer, I decided to become my own detective, and my first move was to turn their own weapons against them. Social media had been Alicia's domain for so long that I'd forgotten I knew how to use it too. But I'd been managing restaurant social accounts for years, which meant I understood engagement, timing, and most importantly, how to create content that people couldn't ignore. I started small. A few Instagram posts about rediscovering myself and focusing on what really matters. Photos from the boxing gym, shots of me cooking elaborate meals for one, candid moments with friends that didn't include my wife. Nothing dramatic or obviously pointed, just a subtle shift in narrative. The response was immediate. Comments from friends I hadn't heard from in months, likes from coworkers, even a few DMs from people asking if everything was okay. It felt good to exist in digital space as something other than Alicia's supporting character. But the real breakthrough came when I decided to have coffee with Sarah, Jake's girlfriend's sister, who'd been at my birthday party. She was still in town for another week, and when she reached out to thank me for a fun evening, I suggested we meet up. "This is nice," she said, settling into the chair across from me at Powell's Books Cafe. "I feel like I barely got to talk to you at the party. Alicia seems lovely, but she has a very strong personality." Sarah had a gift for diplomatic understatement. Strong personality was a polite way of saying that Alicia had spent the first hour of the party making passive-aggressive comments about my friends before disappearing entirely. "She's focused on her career right now," I said, which was technically true if you considered adultery a career. "The fitness influencer thing? That must be exciting." "It's something." I changed the subject. "What about you? Jake mentioned you're in marketing?" We talked for 2 hours about everything except my marriage. Sarah was smart, funny, and refreshingly normal. She didn't take selfies with her coffee or check her phone every 5 minutes. She asked genuine questions and gave thoughtful answers, and I realized how long it had been since I'd had a real conversation with a woman. When we left the cafe, I asked if she'd mind taking a photo together. "For Instagram," I explained. "I'm trying to document more of my life." She laughed. "Sure, but I'm not very photogenic." She was wrong about that. The photo was great. Both of us smiling genuinely, the afternoon light hitting us perfectly through the bookstore windows. I posted it with the caption, "Great conversation with a new friend. Sometimes the best connections happen when you least expect them." The post got more engagement than anything I'd shared in months. Comments from friends, co-workers, even some of Alicia's followers. But more importantly, I could see that Alicia had viewed it within minutes of me posting it. She didn't say anything when I got home that evening, but I could feel her watching me differently, calculating, trying to figure out what I was up to. "Who was that girl you posted with today?" she asked finally, trying to sound casual while she meal prepped for the week. "Sarah, Jake's girlfriend's sister. She was at my birthday party." "Right." She was quiet for a moment, aggressively chopping vegetables. "You didn't mention you were meeting up with her. You didn't mention you were spending the afternoon at the Riverside Hotel, but here we are." The knife stopped moving. She looked up at me, and I could see her mind racing. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I know where you were yesterday, Alicia. I know who you were with, and I know what you were doing." For a moment I thought she might confess. Her face went pale, and she set down the knife with shaking hands. But then something shifted, and she went on the offensive instead. "Are you following me now? That's insane, Greg. That's actually psychotic behavior." "What's psychotic is lying to your husband about having lunch meetings while you're actually screwing your best friend's husband. I don't know what you think you saw, but I saw Dom leaving the hotel at 2:30, and I saw you leaving 15 minutes later wearing a dress I've never seen before. The same red dress he texted you about." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her weighing her options. Deny everything and hope I didn't have more evidence? Come clean and try to salvage the situation? Double down on the gaslighting? She chose option 3. "You're sick, Greg. You're actually sick. Following me around, going through my phone, making up these elaborate fantasies because you can't handle that I have a life outside of this marriage. Fantasies. Yes, fantasies. Dom is Susie's husband and my friend. We were meeting about a business opportunity, and if you weren't so paranoid and jealous, you'd understand that successful people sometimes have meeting in hotels because they have conference rooms and quiet spaces to work. She was good. I had to give her credit for that. If I hadn't seen them with my own eyes, if I hadn't been tracking her location, if I hadn't found that text message, I might have actually believed her. What kind of business opportunity? Dom's company is looking to sponsor fitness influencers for their wellness program. He wanted to discuss terms privately before involving Susie, because she gets weird about money. It was a plausible lie, delivered with just the right amount of indignation, but it was still a lie, and we both knew it. Show me the contract. What? If you're doing business with Dom's company, show me the paperwork, the proposal, the contract, whatever you were working on in that hotel room. It's preliminary discussions, Greg. There is no paperwork yet. Right. Preliminary discussions that require you to wear lingerie under a red dress and leave your wedding ring at home. Her hand went instinctively to her ring finger, and I saw the moment she realized I'd noticed that detail too. I don't have to justify my business meetings to you, she said finally. And I don't have to tolerate this paranoid interrogation. If you can't trust your wife, then maybe we have bigger problems than you think. She was trying to turn this around on me, make me the villain in her story. It was a move straight out of the cheater's playbook, and it might have worked 6 months ago. But I was done being manipulated. You're right, I said. We do have bigger problems. But they're not the problems you think they are. I left her standing in the kitchen and went to our bedroom to pack a bag. I wasn't leaving for good, not yet. But I needed some space to think, and I wanted her to start wondering what I was planning. Where are you going? She called after me. To stay with Richard for a few days. Give us both some time to think about what we want. Greg, don't be dramatic. We can work this out. Can we? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've already decided what you want. You just haven't been honest about it. I finished packing and headed for the door. As I reached for the handle, she grabbed my arm. Please don't do anything stupid, she said. And for the first time in months, I heard something genuine in her voice. Fear, maybe. Or guilt. Don't worry, I told her. I'm going to do something smart instead. Richard's apartment was a tech consultant's paradise. Multiple monitors, gaming setup, smart home devices that responded to voice commands, and a refrigerator stocked with energy drinks and leftover takeout. It was also exactly what I needed. A neutral space where I could think clearly without Alicia's presence clouding my judgment. So, what's the plan? Richard asked, handing me a beer and settling into his ergonomic desk chair. And please tell me it doesn't involve you standing outside any more hotels like a stalker. The plan is to let them think they won. Explain. I pulled out my phone and showed him Alicia's latest Instagram story. She'd posted a photo of herself looking sad and contemplative, with the caption, "Sometimes relationships go through difficult phases. Grateful for friends who support me through everything. Blessed Nash strong women, never give up." She's already working the narrative, I said. Poor Alicia, dealing with her unstable husband who's having some kind of breakdown. Look at the comments. Richard scrolled through them. Dozens of supportive messages from her followers, heart emojis, offers to talk if she needed someone to listen. A few people even asking directly if she was okay, if I was treating her badly. She's good at this, Richard admitted, building sympathy, making herself the victim. She's great at it, but she's also overconfident. She thinks I'm just going to disappear quietly, maybe move out and give her grounds for divorce based on abandonment or emotional abuse or whatever story she wants to tell. And instead, Instead, I'm going to give her exactly what she wants. For now. Over the next few days, I played the part of the confused, possibly unstable husband perfectly. I stayed away from the apartment, posted melancholy photos on social media, even had coffee with Sarah again, and made sure to document it online. To anyone watching, including Alicia, it looked like I was having some kind of midlife crisis, possibly involving another woman. The reaction was exactly what I'd expected. Alicia's friends rallied around her, offering support and advice. Dom became more brazen, commenting on her posts and even showing up in her Instagram stories. Susie played the loyal best friend, posting photos of girls' nights and self-care sessions designed to help Alicia through her difficult time. But while they were busy building their narrative, I was building something else entirely, a network. It started with Karen, the bartender at Murphy's Pub, where I'd been grabbing dinner most nights. She was in her 40s, sharp as a knife, and had zero patience for cheating spouses. "Your wife sounds like a piece of work," she said one evening after I'd told her a carefully edited version of my situation. "I see women like that all the time. Think they're smarter than everyone else, think they can play games without consequences. Maybe I should just let it go. Start over. Somewhere else. Honey, letting it go is what weak men do. You don't strike me as weak." She was right about that. I'd been weak for months, maybe years, letting Alicia convince me that my feelings didn't matter, that my concerns were paranoia, that her happiness was more important than my dignity. But I was done being weak. The next piece of my network was Frank, my old boxing coach. He was in his 60s, built like a tree trunk, and had been watching me get pushed around long enough. "You know what your problem is?" he said during a training session that left me exhausted and clear-headed. "You've been fighting defensive for too long. Sometimes you gotta take the gloves off and remind people who they're dealing with." "I'm not going to beat up Dom, if that's what you're suggesting." "I'm not talking about that kind of fighting, son. I'm talking about fighting smart, fighting to win." The third piece was Detective Lisa Burns, who I met completely by accident when someone broke into one of my restaurants. She was professional, thorough, and during our conversation about the break-in, she mentioned that she moonlighted as a private investigator. "Cheating spouse cases are bread and butter," she said matter-of-factly. "Usually pretty straightforward. People think they're being clever, but they leave digital footprints everywhere." "Hypothetically, what kind of evidence would you need to prove an affair?" "Hypothetically? Photos, communications, financial records, witness statements, but honestly, most people make it easy. They get comfortable, sloppy, start thinking they're untouchable. By the end of the week, I had everything I needed to destroy Alicia and Dom legally and socially, but I also had something more valuable, a plan that would let them destroy themselves. I went back to the apartment on Friday evening. Alicia was there with Susie, both of them drinking wine and working on laptops, supposedly planning their next business venture. "Greg!" Alicia jumped up when I walked in, and I could see her calculating how to play this. "I'm so glad you're home. We need to talk." "Hi, Susie." I nodded to Alicia's friend who was watching me with those sharp, dark eyes. "How's Dom?" "He's fine," she said carefully. "Working a lot lately." "I bet he is." There was a moment of silence, and I could feel both women trying to read my mood. Was I here to fight? To reconcile? To pack more clothes? "I think I overreacted," I said finally. "This whole thing with the hotel, the suspicions about you and Dom. Richard thinks I might be having some kind of breakdown." Alicia's relief was visible. "Oh, honey, I'm so glad you're seeing that. I was so worried about you." "I mean, it's crazy, right? You and Dom?" I looked directly at Susie. "Your husband and my wife?" Completely crazy, Susie agreed, but something flickered in her expression, something that looked almost like disappointment. I think I just got insecure about your success, I continued, playing the part of the chastened husband, seeing you build this business, become this influencer, while I'm stuck in the same job I've had for years. Maybe I was looking for problems that weren't there. That makes so much sense, Alicia said, moving closer to me. And it's totally understandable. But we're a team, remember? Your success is my success. Right. My success was her success, but apparently her success was Dom's reward. I want to make it up to you, I said. Both of you, really, since I know I've been weird around Dom lately, too. That's so sweet, Susie said, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. I was thinking we could have a dinner party. Tomorrow night. Invite some friends. Celebrate your new business venture. Show everyone that we're solid. Alicia practically glowed. That's a wonderful idea. We could live stream part of it. Show my followers how supportive you are. Perfect. I'll handle everything. Food, drinks, guest list. You just focus on looking beautiful and being your amazing self. She kissed me then, right in front of Susie, and I tasted wine and lies on her lips. But I kissed her back, because I needed her to believe that I was still the same stupid, trusting husband I'd always been. After they left to continue their business planning at Susie's place, I sat in our living room and finalized my own plans. Tomorrow night's dinner party was going to be everything Alicia wanted, well documented, full of friends and followers, and absolutely unforgettable. She just wasn't going to like the reason why. Saturday evening arrived with the kind of perfect Portland weather that made everyone want to be outside. I'd rented the rooftop space again, the same one where I'd thrown my birthday party, and spent the afternoon setting up tables, string lights, and a sound system that would ensure everyone could hear everything clearly. The guest list was carefully curated. Friends from the restaurants, some of Alicia's fitness influencer crowd, a few neighbors from our building, and of course, Dom and Susie. I'd even invited Sarah, who was flying back to California the next morning and seemed genuinely excited to attend. This is beautiful, Alicia said when she saw the setup. She was wearing a stunning black dress that I'd never seen before, her hair and makeup perfect, as always. You really outdid yourself. Only the best for my wife, I said, and meant it in ways she couldn't imagine. Dom and Susie arrived fashionably late, him in a sport coat that probably cost more than his factory salary should have allowed, her in a red cocktail dress that hugged every curve. They looked like a power couple, confident and attractive and completely unaware that they were walking into their own execution. Greg, man, this is incredible, Dom said, shaking my hand with that firm grip he'd perfected. Thanks for including us. Wouldn't be the same without you, I replied. After all, you're such an important part of Alicia's business success. He smiled at that, probably thinking I was referring to whatever cover story they'd concocted about sponsorship deals and wellness programs. Susie was watching me more carefully, her dark eyes searching my face for any sign of what I was really thinking. The party started exactly as planned. Good food, flowing drinks, conversations that ranged from restaurant gossip to fitness trends to Portland real estate. Alicia was in her element, working the crowd like the social media professional she'd become, making sure everything was perfectly documented for her Instagram audience. I played the devoted husband flawlessly, bringing her drinks, laughing at her stories, even taking photos of her with various guests. To everyone watching, including the people following along on social media, we looked like the perfect couple celebrating with friends. Around 9 o'clock, when everyone was relaxed and the wine had been flowing freely, I decided it was time for the main event. Can I get everyone's attention? I called out, tapping a fork against my wine glass. The conversations quieted and all eyes turned to me. I wanted to say a few words about why we're all here tonight. Alicia beamed at me from across the rooftop, probably expecting some romantic declaration or public apology for my recent breakdown. First, I want to thank everyone for coming. It means a lot to have our friends here to celebrate Alicia's success and our marriage. Murmurs of agreement, raised glasses, the kind of warm response you'd expect from a group of people who thought they were at a normal dinner party. Alicia has been working so hard lately on her fitness business, spending long hours in meetings, building relationships with potential sponsors and partners. The dedication she's shown has been truly inspiring. More positive murmurs. Alicia was practically glowing. In fact, she's been so dedicated that she's been having meetings at all hours, in all kinds of places. Hotels, for instance, where she can have private discussions about business opportunities. The first hint of unease rippled through the crowd. Alicia's smile faltered slightly, but she was probably still hoping I was building toward some kind of supportive conclusion. Dom here has been particularly helpful in that regard. I gestured toward him, and I saw his face go pale. Haven't you, Dom? What do you mean? He stammered. Well, your company's wellness program, the sponsorship opportunity you and Alicia have been discussing, the one that requires so many private meetings at the Riverside Hotel. The rooftop went completely silent. Even the background music seemed to fade as everyone processed what I was really saying. Greg, Alicia said carefully, maybe we should talk about this privately. Why? These are our friends. They should know about your business success. In fact, let me share some of the evidence of how hard you've been working. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the sound system. I've been documenting Alicia's dedication, and I thought everyone should see how committed she is to her goals. The first thing I played was a recording I'd made of Dom's voicemail on Alicia's phone, the one where he talked about that incredible afternoon and when we can be alone again. His voice filled the rooftop space, clear and unmistakable. Susie's wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the concrete. That's not, Dom started, but I cut him off. There's more. Alicia has been so busy with these business meetings that she's been documenting them herself. The next recording was Alicia's voice, captured during a phone call I'd overheard through our thin bedroom wall, her talking to someone, obviously Dom, about how Greg suspects something, but he's too stupid to figure it out, and how Susie doesn't need to know the details. The silence on the rooftop was deafening. 30 people staring at my wife and her lover, watching them realize that their secret was not only out, but being broadcast to everyone they knew. This is insane, Alicia said, her voice shaking. Greg, you're having some kind of breakdown. These recordings are taken out of context. Are they? Let me provide some context then. I pulled up the location data I'd been tracking, displayed on my phone screen for everyone to see. Here's Alicia's location data for the past month. Notice how many times she's at the Riverside Hotel during her supposed lunch meetings with Susie. I turned to Susie, who was staring at her husband with murder in her eyes. Susie, were you at the Riverside Hotel last Tuesday afternoon? No, she said quietly. How about Thursday morning 2 weeks ago? No. Interesting, because according to this data, Alicia was there both times. And according to Dom's credit card statements, which are public record since his company uses corporate cards, he was there too. Dom looked like he was going to be sick. How did you get my credit card information? I didn't have to get it. You left the receipts in your gym bag when I dumped it out in the parking garage last week. Remember that? When you tried to intimidate me into backing off? Several people in the crowd were recording now, holding up phones to capture every moment of the confrontation. Alicia's carefully curated image was being destroyed in real time, broadcast to her own social media followers. "You're all witnessing the end of my marriage," I announced to the crowd. "But more importantly, you're witnessing the end of their deception. Dom, Susie, Alicia, they've all been playing games, thinking they were smarter than everyone else." "Greg, please." Alicia was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can fix this." "Fix what? The lies? The cheating? The way you've been humiliating me for months while I paid for your lifestyle?" I looked around at the crowd, at the shocked faces and the phones still recording. I want everyone here to remember this moment. Remember what happens when people think they can use and manipulate others without consequences. Dom finally found his voice. "You're crazy, man. This is psychotic behavior." "Psychotic? I'm not the one who's been screwing my best friend's wife behind everyone's back. I'm not the one who's been lying to my spouse for months. I'm just the one who got tired of being treated like an idiot." I walked over to where Susie was standing, still staring at her husband with that expression of pure rage. "Susie, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but I thought you deserved to know the truth about what your husband and best friend have been doing with their spare time." She nodded slowly, then walked over to Dom and slapped him so hard the sound echoed across the rooftop. "We're done," she said simply. Then she turned to Alicia. "And we're done too. Delete my number." The party was over. People started leaving in small groups, murmuring among themselves, still processing what they'd witnessed. Several of them made a point of shaking my hand or patting my shoulder as they left. Sarah was one of the last to go. "I'm sorry this happened," she said quietly, "but I'm not sorry you stood up for yourself. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing me what courage looks like." Within an hour, the rooftop was empty except for me, Alicia, and Dom. Susie had left with some of the other guests, probably to start planning her own divorce. "I hope you're happy," Alicia said bitterly. "You've destroyed everything." "I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken." Dom was slumped in one of the chairs, his head in his hands. "My marriage is over. My job is going to fire me when this gets out. You've ruined my life." "You ruined your own life. I just made sure everyone could see it." They left together, which seemed fitting. Two cheaters walking off into the night, their secrets exposed, their reputations destroyed, their futures uncertain. I stayed on the rooftop until dawn, watching the sun rise over Portland and thinking about what came next. My marriage was over, but for the first time in months, I felt free. My phone was buzzing constantly with notifications. The videos from the party were already spreading on social media, shared and reshared by people who'd been there and people who hadn't. Alicia's follower count was dropping by the hundreds as the story spread. By morning, everyone would know the truth about the perfect couple and their Instagram-ready life. The fitness influencer who cheated on her supportive husband. The factory worker who betrayed his wife with her best friend. The husband who finally stopped being a victim and started fighting back. I'd given them exactly what they deserved. The truth, served cold and in public, with no way to spin it or explain it away. It was the best birthday present I'd ever given myself.